Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Utpala, and we are joining together to go over Foundation Course 4, which is Proof of Future Lives. And today is class 6. And we're going to spend some time looking at reasonings and looking at like the order in which reasonings are done. It's called four reasonings in forward order, but we'll get into that. So before we get started, let's take a moment and get in touch with our motivation for being here. Let go of your busy day or your busy morning or your busy night. Just feel yourself sitting on your cushion. Bring your awareness to the present moment, right here, right now. And just experience what you experience to settle your mind. The breath as it moves out and in of your nose, the feeling of your seat on your body, and now think of your motivation for being here. This course is about proof for future lives. So, what would you like your future life to be? What is your highest goal for this life and later in this life? What is your motivation for this day? For this class? So we can plant the strongest seeds possible. See that motivation very clearly in your mind. See if you can actually feel it in your heart. And then just make to yourself the statement, in this class, I will focus my mind on the content we're talking about so I can plant seeds to realize my highest goals. And then if you'd like to join me uh, in reciting prayers, let's see, there it is. Sangye Chiran Suki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsu Ji Daki Chishe Gipe Sunam Ki Drola Penshir Sangye Juparsho Sangye Chitang Suki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Chishe Gipe Sunam Ki Jola Pinshir Sangye Juparsho Sangye Chudam Suki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Chishe Gipe Sunam Ki Jola Pinshir Sangye Juparsho. Sashi Puki Jukshin Metok Tram Viram Lingshin Yinde Gempadi Sangye Shindu Mikte Uargi Drokun Namdak Shingla Chuparsho Yidam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayam. Oh, before we dive in, any burning questions from last time? As per usual, always surrounded by the most excellent and uh, intelligent of students. I, I will answer or try to answer any questions you have, and I do appreciate the opportunity to be around this collection of my bodhisattvas. So thank you. Okay, we'll dive in. So we're going to spend today focusing on reasoning, logical reasoning. Another word for it is syllogism, which is basically a logical statement. And let me share that, get you chat back, get you pictures back. Okay, I think There we go. Okay, great. So we're going to talk first about orders of reasoning. We have Lung Jung and we have Lung Do. Lung Jung is the forward order of something. And we're going to go through first the classical example. And then if you have any questions, we'll dive more deeply. Well, it's not really that deep. And then Lung Dok, which is the reversed order of something. So we can go forward or we can go backwards. The classical example, and this is not something you need to know for your homework, it's more just for your understanding of what we're talking about. The classic example is the wheel of life. And I should have gotten you a picture of the wheel of life. But if you picture, there's this being who's a rather wrathful looking being, and he's got fangs and claws, and he's holding this circle, which is a wheel. It's a wheel that turns. And there are 12 sections of this wheel all around the edge. And they call them links in this wheel. And this wheel represents the cycle of suffering. It represents samsara. And when the Buddha taught this, so this is in Sutra, he talked about that every monastery or temple should have this painting on the wall right by the door, right by the front door to the temple or the monastery. And his purpose for that was for it to be a reminder to people as they come in and hear teachings, a reminder as to, why are we doing this, right? Because right now we're stuck in this cycle of suffering. So we're listening to these teachings that can get us out of this wheel. But back to the wheel. The first link in this wheel, Tangpo, is called Marekpa, which is misunderstanding. Sometimes you hear it as ignorance. I guess Michael is using misunderstanding these days. And this is misunderstanding about the way things are. Thinking that things are coming towards us, right? And thinking that we have nothing to do with this, with how we experience the world. Oh, Persis Lee put in a wheel of life here. Can I see? I don't know if that'll show up in that format for me, but I'm just going to check real quick and see if I can open it. I can. It's very teeny tiny. So if you want to look at that, if I were to share it, you would be like, why is she showing me 1 pixel on the screen? Because my screen is so big. So if you want to see the wheel of life, you can open up that image. It's just an image. Anyway, so Marikpa is misunderstanding about the way things are. And what happens when we have misunderstanding? is that, we think things are happening to us, and then we react out of attachment or anger, and we act. We create karma, ducekile. We act because if it's something we like, we want more of it. They call that attachment, ignorant liking. If we dislike something that's happening to us, we push back, and our habit is to push back in like the same way that we're being pushed. So if someone's yelling at us, our habit is to yell back, and we think that will stop the yelling. We're kind of crazy, we're kind of crazy. Or if someone hits us, we hit back. So that's the second link. The third link is called Namparshepa, which is consciousness. Then we have Mingdang Suk, which is name and form. Then we have the Keche Druk, the 6 sense faculties, eye, nose, ear, taste. Yes, Suk is form. Eye, ear, nose, taste, hearing, sensation, physical sensation, and thought. Those are the 6. And then we have Rekpa, which is contact. Those senses come into contact with an object. And Sorwa. Then we have some feeling about it. We feel good, we feel bad, we feel neutral. And then out of that feeling, we have craving, like a strong desire, and then grasping. So these are 2 different links, and they're very much related. But the second one, the grasping, the Nyewar Lempa, is much stronger than the Sepa, the craving. So then, out of that craving or grasping, then we have Sipa, which is ripened karma. So that seed that we planted way back in the second link, that karma that we did back in the second link, planted a seed, and that seed has been growing over time. We've been going along these links of the wheel, and now a seed ripens into an experience. And the last links in the wheel of life are birth, Kewa, Grashi, aging, and death. So these links are successive. The first link triggers the second link. The second link triggers the third link, and so on. So when the wheel of life is taught, it's taught in this order of explaining how it is that we're stuck in this cycle of life, because it doesn't have a beginning, right? It's a full circle. It's not a line, it's a circle. And we pick a point at the circle and we say that's the beginning, but there is, the 12th link just to the left. Like we're looking at a clock. And misunderstanding is at 12. And we say that's the beginning, and then we go on. There's one to the left, there's 11, right? I did the numbers there wrong. I hope that's not too confusing. Let me just correct them so that I don't, so I can let it go in my mind. If you look at a clock, we say the beginning is 1 o'clock. Well, 1 o'clock isn't a start, it's on the wheel. There was a 12 o'clock beforehand, right? So each link inspires the next, and it continues on. There's no end. Well, there is an end to samsara. That's why we're here. So this, talking about, misunderstanding and then creating karma or doing some action that creates karma, we say that the misunderstanding triggers us creating karma, right? So we're going in a forward order. We start with 1, then we go to 2, then we go to 3, like that. And when we understand, when we spend a long time studying these 12 links and we understand them well, then the teacher says, okay, how can we get out of this cycle of suffering? And then they flip it. They reverse it. They ndok it. They turn it around. So you start at link 12 and you say, okay, you want to stop. You want to reverse, or you don't want to get old and die. So what's the trigger for getting old and dying? It was birth. So if you don't want to get old and die, then don't be born. And it sounds silly, but we're talking about being born in this cycle of suffering, right? If you don't want to be born, then don't have karma that ripens. Because remember, from the karma course, if you took that with me, there's when we every time we act, we're planting seeds. And we call it karma, but this seed is a potential. It's a possibility. It's something that over time grows larger and more powerful, and at some point it will ripen. Not usually in this life, mainly in the next life or lives after that, unless we use the very powerful tools that we talked about to make things ripen more quickly. But the seed we plant, we don't experience things right away, and that's what Arya Nagarjuna said is the tragedy of karma. uh, Arya Nagarjuna said that if we understood as we're walking down the sidewalk and our foot touches a let's say a snail, because a snail is kind of big and it has a little shell, right? When our foot touches the shell and starts to break the shell of the snail and our back starts to break, if we felt that immediately, we would be far more careful in how in our actions, in our speech, in our thoughts even. But alas, the seed has to grow into an experience. There's a period of time. There's a time lapse. So anyway, you go back and back and back, and you get to where you are creating karma, and you say, okay, I want to stop creating the karma to be in this suffering wheel of life. What's the trigger I need to get rid of? It's the first one. It's misunderstanding. Misunderstanding the way things are. So that was an example of a forward way of reasoning, and then a reversed way, a reversed order of reasoning. I missed your question, and I'm not sure if, I mean, we will have, I'm not sure exactly when you asked it, so how to link it back to what I was saying, but just to say about rebirth, and we are going to talk more about this in this course. While we're in the circle of life, we will have future lives, and we are in this course going to talk more about proofs for that. This this gross mind and body will die. That's the last link, right? In the wheel of life. They will die, but a very, very, very subtle physical form and mind, very subtle, continue on. I mean, those forms are so subtle that human beings have no instruments that can detect them. Human instruments can detect gross mind, gross activity of the brain, and they think that's the mind. Actually, it's not. That's part of the body, but they actually can't really detect thought. They can detect movement in the brain, synapses going off and whatnot, but that's physical. Mind is mental, it's not physical. But anyway, science can detect physical things, and it's gotten advanced in being able to detect very subtle things, but it can't detect the subtle physical form that continues on to a future life. And then we say you take the Buddhism says you go into the bardo, the state in between lives, and You're kind of zipping around in the bardo. It's not a pleasant experience usually. But at some point you come across a man and a woman having sex, and you're very attracted to it. And you go, ooh, what's going on over there? And you become so interested, you get close, and then um, you become a zygote, or you're not a baby yet, right? You're not an infant. You're not even a fetus yet. You're just the coming together of the sperm and egg. That's you. You get stuck in there. And then you go into your next life. Like that. Once you get out of the wheel of life, which would be nirvana, or if you have the motivation of bodhicitta to benefit all living beings, to become totally enlightened, to become omniscient, and to be able to benefit all living beings, Buddhahood. So those are the only two escapes from the wheel of life. And in when you're outside of the wheel of life, they don't talk about rebirth. You don't get reborn because you no longer die. There's no death. Okay. So now we're going to use, or I should say, Dharmakirti in his text presented something called the four reasonings in proving the Buddha turned totally correct. Now, we've talked before about Semar Kirpa, right? That this was a line in Master Dignaga's opening words of his text that was the compendium of accurate perception, right? The lines he wrote on the wall. I bow down to the one, and then he listed 5 qualities of the Buddha. And Semar Kirpa was the first one. Semar Kirpa. And that means one who turned totally correct, right? So we're going to have 4 syllogisms, 4 logical statements. And they're going to go in a forward order. And as you see, we're going to be going through, we're going to be going through those 5 qualities. We're going to use 4 reasonings to prove the first quality, that the Buddha has turned totally correct. The Buddha became totally correct. So let's look at the first one. Dungpa Chuchen. Dungpa Chuchen. Chuchen. This is used in the first line of a logical statement. This is where you're saying, here's the subject of what I want to talk about. Here's what we're going to debate about, because usually logical statements are debates, right? They're making a proof, and there's usually back and forth between 2 people. So the one who's opening the debate we can say, let's call this, let's consider. And what are we going to consider? What's our subject? Tunpa. Tunpa, in this spelling, it means the teacher with a capital T. It means the Buddha in his role as teaching us. And remember, we've talked about he taught us what to take up and what to give up, right? So let's consider the teacher. Then the next line in when you're presenting a logical statement, you've identified your subject. And the next thing you say is some quality about the subject that you want to prove is related to the subject. So the person, assertion, very good. You and your partner, your debate partner, you agree on what the subject is, the teacher. But your debate partner doesn't accept your assertion. You have to prove it to them. You have to prove there's a connection between the quality asserted and the subject, okay? And so here, our assertion, or I should say Dharmakirti's assertion, in the first of the four proofs, is Semar Kirte. Now we just had that, right? Sema, accurate perception, and cure is cure. Sorry, too much air. Kirte. The teacher has turned totally correct. That's our assertion. The teacher has the quality of being totally correct person. And then, as Vinchet tells us, our third line in a logical statement is our reason. And our reason is actually something that our debate partner already accepts. They just didn't know about this second one. They just didn't make the connection yet of the quality we're asserting with the subject. The reason they get, so once we give the reason, and if they see it as being related to the quality, then they can accept that the quality is related to the subject. So we have to get there. We have to go through steps to get to that point. So what is the reason? Cheered, it pretty much always ends with this phrase. It's Kyopa Yinbei Cheer. A reason will pretty much always end with Yinbei Cheer. Yinbei Cheer. Kyopa. Kyop. I think we had this not too long ago, actually. Maybe on Wednesday, but I lose track of days. But we did have it, I think. So Kyopa, that means, we had it when we went through the 5 qualities that Master Dignaga had in his list. So Kyopa means the protector. The protector. And the related word is kyamdro, which means to take refuge, which is to go for protection to the object of protection. And that's the Kyopa, the one who protects, the protector. Yin means is. is. So what we're saying here, and this means because, cheer means because. Yinbei cheer. Because it's like this. So what is our whole logical statement? Let's consider the teacher, capital T, the Buddha. And we're talking Shakyamuni. He has turned totally correct because he is the protector. So our debate partner already accepts that the Buddha is the protector. And what we're hoping in having used that as our reason is that our partner will now accept that the Buddha is also one who turned totally correct. Now, if you were the debate partner, does that seem like a logical proof to you? Did that prove it to you? That the Buddha is totally correct? Turned totally correct? No. Maria says no. It it doesn't cut it. So our debate partner is probably going to come back and say, basically, what are you talking about? I don't accept that. So then we have to continue on in our debate, okay? And so we have to talk about, in the next of the 4 logical statements, we have to talk about, okay, what makes someone a protector? What does that mean? How can we prove he's a protector? So that's our next logical statement. Oh, by the way, these are called the 4 reasonings in the forward order. Lungjung Rikpa Shi. Rikpa means reasoning, and Shi means 4. And Lungjung we had is forward order. Okay, so on to our second logical statement. We start off with a Chichen, as per usual. We always start off with Chichen. We always start off by saying, let's talk about something. And here we're using the word te, and that's a pronoun that means that. That. So let's consider that, meaning let's talk about the same subject we were just talking about in our last logical statement. In other words, let's consider the teacher again. We're still talking about the teacher in this debate. Our assertion is Kyopa Yinte. Kyopa again is protector, and yin means is. So the quality that we want to prove about the teacher is that he's the protector. Because actually our debate opponent, not appointment, our debate opponent said, Takmadrup, said, I don't accept your reason in our first statement. I don't accept your reason. You're wrong. I don't agree that the teacher is the protector. So now we're going on to prove, yes, the teacher is the protector. So that's our quality we're trying to prove, the second line in the logical statement. Now our third line our reason, is Drima Pangpe Cheer. Actually, we would say it more like Drima Pangpe Cheer. Drima Pangpe Cheer. Drima, it means stinky, smelly, spoiled, rotten. It's the mala in Vimala. If you're a Sanskritist, I have a friend named Vimala. The V prefix in Sanskrit is a negative. It's like saying un or not. So she is not stinky. She's pure. So Drima. Now Pangpa. Pangpa is a verb that means to eliminate, to get rid of them. So to get rid of that which is stinky. Now, what are we talking about? What's stinky? What's stinking is the afflicted side of things. Remember, we talked about there is the pure side of things and an afflicted side of things. And the afflicted side of things is is suffering and the source of suffering. Those two truths, right? Now, what causes suffering? We talked about afflictions or negative emotions. They are what cause the afflicted side of things. We're under the throes of those 84,000 negative emotions. So that's what Drima is. Is all negative emotions. Everything that's stinky. All our negative emotions. Anger, jealousy, pride, misunderstanding, wrong views. We've gotten rid of them all. That's cool, right? And we do say not only about a Buddha having gotten rid of the afflicted side of things, but that an arhat has as well, right? That the one who reaches nirvana, the one who has escaped the wheel of life on the lower vehicle, is an arhat. One who has stopped completely negative emotions. There is a distinction for an enlightened being. An arhat has one obstacle, basically. Well, probably more than one, but the big one, the big obstacle that's still remaining for an arhat, even though they have no negative emotions. You know, she's perfectly she has the appearance of being perfectly pure and has no negative thoughts and always acts perfectly. But she has an obstacle to omniscience. She has an obstacle to knowing and having direct perception of all things in all times. So an awakened one, a Buddha, has also gotten rid of that. They've pangpad that obstacle to knowing all things. But anyway, I may be getting ahead of myself here. Sangye, that's what we call a Buddha. Sangye. And sang means to clear away. Like you can clear away your thirst by drinking a glass of water. Or you can clear away sleepiness by waking up, getting out of bed. So that's half of the word that Tibetans used for Buddha, sang. Gye means wide, vast. And this refers the gye part. Let me just say the sang part first. The clearing away part, that refers to the Buddha having eliminated all bad qualities, right? The gye part of sangye, the wide, vast part, that refers to the Buddha's omniscience, the Buddha's ability to see all existing things of all three times. So these four logical statements that we're going through, they are in your reading. So you'll see them in your reading. Geshe Michael, when he taught this, presented the four in the way that I'm giving them to you, and they're an abbreviated form because we don't want to spend so much time going over so many words. But you will see in your reading that there are more words. So the way that we can make a distinction between what an arhat got rid of and what a Buddha got rid of is this word sebar. And this word you'll see it in your reading if you read Tibetan. And I know some of you are practicing. Sebar means completely. Completely. So one who becomes a Buddha has completely eliminated all negativities. An arhat still has an obstacle to omniscience. So they haven't completely eliminated. Okay. So, okay, we just said all together here, yes, the Buddha, let's consider the teacher Yes, the teacher is the protector because they have eliminated all their obstacles completely. They have eliminated all the stinky parts of themselves. But that doesn't satisfy our opponent. And they say, well, why do you say that? Why do you say the teacher has eliminated all their obstacles completely? Okay. Well, then let's consider the teacher again. 대추chen. Trimapante. The teacher did eliminate stinky stuff. Dumpa yimbe. Dumpa yimbe. Now, this is sort of an illegal response. So, and it means, let's consider the teacher. The teacher eliminated all the stinky stuff because he's the teacher. Like, no, that's illogical. That's a circular argument. We do not accept that kind of argument. So we have to adopt it a little bit. So let's change our reason statement. We're going to say instead, Tongyi tunpa yimbeche. So we're adding Tongyi. We're not just saying because he's the teacher. We're saying because he's the teacher of emptiness. Because he's the teacher of things lacking a self-nature. Tongni. Sometimes you see it as tongpani. Tongni. Emptiness. So this one is related to Master Dignaga's statement. Yes, Shunyata, thank you. This logical statement, we're up to our third one, right? Yeah. Is related to Master Dignaga's statement that the Buddha is one who has gone to bliss. One who has gone to bliss. Now, what's the relationship? Why would we say that he's cleared away all obstacles because he's one who has gone to bliss, or because he's a teacher of emptiness? We're equating those two things. Teacher of emptiness and one who has gone to bliss. So what is the thing that can dream upon, can get rid of all your negativities? What is that one thing that we say once you once you have encountered it directly, that you become an entirely different person? You become an entirely different kind of being. You have entered the stream to become fully enlightened. It's the direct perception of emptiness, right? once we have that direct perception of emptiness, we see how things are. We see that we've only been creating our own suffering up till that moment. We see those four Arya truths we talked about. We see that everything we've experienced has been suffering. That the cause of suffering is our misunderstanding and then acting out of that misunderstanding to create suffering for us. We realize that there is an end to suffering. That not only is it possible to get out of the cycle of suffering, but that we will. We are certain that we will. And that, fourthly, there is a path leading to getting out of that cycle of suffering. We see, so Geshe Michael says, the lives we will live before we reach our final goal. And we see the truth of the path of habituation, the fourth of the five paths, which is getting used to what we saw on the third path directly, becoming accustomed to applying our direct perception of emptiness and what we learned after that to our lives in clearing away negative karmas, negative seeds, and planting very, very powerful positive seeds. We spend some time, typically they say, 7 lives. 7 lives of planting very powerful seeds to become enlightened. So, why? Let's consider the teacher. The teacher has completely eliminated all stinkiness because he's the teacher of emptiness. Now, that sounds pretty good, but if we say, oh yeah, he's someone who can't lie, so if he's teaching emptiness, that means he must have perceived it directly. So there we go. But that's also circular reasoning. We haven't proven yet that the Buddha has only accurate perceptions. So we have to keep going. So the Buddha is, let's consider the teacher. He has completely removed all stinkiness, all of his bad qualities, because he's the teacher who teaches emptiness. He's the teacher of emptiness. And that reason is called the reasoning of the teacher. And it's proving that he's having gone to bliss. He's removed all obstacles, all stinkiness. So now we go on to the last one, the fourth one. And we start off the same way I just want to get to the right line. Okay, good. We start off the same way. Let's consider that same thing we've been talking about all along. Let's keep on talking about the teacher. Let's consider the teacher. I have to move something out of the way here. Toniki Tunpayente, the teacher is a teacher of emptiness. Why? Because Tukche Chempo Yubeche. That's another common ending to a reason. Yubeche. It means there is, or he has. Instead of is in the sense of Geshe Michael is a teacher. Oh, good. I can still use the same subject. Let's consider Geshe Michael. No, I'll just continue on. He is the teacher, and that's yin. And he as bodhicitta, that's yepa. He has that quality, bodhicitta, in his mind. He has that state of mind. So, Tukje Chempo. What is Tukje Chempo? Tukje Tukche means compassion, or more literally, it means heart. Heart. And we're going to dive more into that in just a few minutes. Heart. And in Sanskrit, it's karuna with a retroflex and karuna. And champo means big. So great compassion. Tukche champo is great compassion. Maha karuna in Sanskrit. Maha karuna. He possesses. So he's the teacher. He's the teacher of emptiness because he possesses great compassion. What does that infer? What does that infer about the relationship between great compassion and emptiness? It infers that great compassion is what drives us to become a Buddha. Geshe Michael also said in this class that probably one would need to have great compassion in order to have the direct experience of emptiness. Now, great compassion is not the same as bodhicitta, right? If you took the first course, we went through the progression of like realizations or thoughts that we have in order to develop bodhicitta. And great compassion was, I can't remember what number it is. It's very close to the end. So if there's 7 steps, then that means it's step 5. Great compassion is the 5th of the steps to bodhicitta. So Geshe Michael is saying, and also Master Chandrakirti has said this, and many other teachers have said that great compassion is a cause for becoming a Buddha. A cause, not the cause, right? So these 4, so again, let me just go through this one all together. Let's consider the teacher. The teacher is a teacher of emptiness because he possesses great compassion. This, excuse me, this is called the reasoning of great compassion. The 4th logical reasoning or logical statement in the forward order is called the reasoning of great compassion. So you'll notice that we used the word that's in our reason. If we look at our logical statement, let's consider the teacher. The teacher is a teacher of emptiness because he has great compassion. We're using the phrase from the reason as the title of that reason, of each reason. Okay? You'll see it in your reading. So you don't have to like, oh my gosh, she said too many words already today. I'm not going to remember this. You'll see it in your reason and in your reason. You'll see it in your reading. I'm so sorry. You have me as your teacher. Oh, the patience you must have with me. You'll see it in your reading. And you can also go back and look at the opening lines of Master Dignaga. Just look at those 5 qualities of the Buddha. And you had to put that into your second homework. Those 5 qualities. So you can find them there. So you don't forget. So you are going to have a question in this homework that, you're going to use those names of the reasons, and you're going to talk about what each reason covers. And you have not only what we just went through, but you also have your reading. So hopefully this will be very straightforward. And I think that, personally speaking, the more I go over this, like, every few years, I'll go over a course again. And every few years, each time I do, there's like more things I see that the Course is teaching me. Like these courses get more and more profound, which is really kind of cool. Okay, let's see. Is compassion, like we understand, we want to help people out of suffering, and great compassion is to help them out for good? Nintret, I would like to say that I now understand who you are. You are Subhuti. You know how Subhuti asked questions of the Buddha just to get the Buddha to talk about what he wants him to talk about. So you are Subhuti because that is coming. That is coming. Not that I'm the Buddha, mind you, but I think you're Subhuti. So does being a protector prove that a person is totally correct? Being a protector prove that he's totally correct. So if we as we've talked about before, one thing that the Buddha said is that is the truth of suffering, right? And he described suffering well. And we talked about places you can go and find out more information about his descriptions of suffering. I think the most, there's the obvious one that everyone says is suffering, but one that's more challenging is the suffering of change, the suffering of every good thing we ever have or experience will lose, will come to an end. And that is a suffering because it does not last. The good things we have do not last. And he's taught us what to give up and what to take up, so that we can get out of this. I mean, you can call it a circle of suffering, or you can call it a deranged habit of acting in ways that cause my own suffering. It's just a habit. Very strong one. But still, it's just a habit. And because it's a habit, we can replace it with a different habit. Right? It's possible. So why are we talking all about the 5 statements of Dignaga and talking about the forward order of reasonings? We're building up. We're laying a foundation, because this course is supposedly about proof of future lives. But before we can dive into those proofs, we need to have a good, solid foundation, a good, solid base that we can stand on to consider future lives. So we're wandering around we're not really wandering. We're being smart about it in considering Dignaga's 5 statements that he made about the Buddha. There will be a connection, and you will see it soon to proofs of future lives. We're going to touch it right now. So, those 4 reasonings, it ended with the reason, great compassion. So, according to Master Dignaga, according to Master Chandrakirti, according to so many, according to Master Dharmakirti, so many scholars and high practitioners, teachers have said that great compassion is the key. It's the primal cause of Buddhahood. Everything starts from great compassion. Why? You can't develop bodhicitta. You can't develop the wish to become fully enlightened in order to benefit all living beings without first developing great compassion. So there are 6 different, well, let me just say this. You don't care to teach. A person doesn't care to teach unless they have compassion. That's one reason that great compassion is a cause for bodhicitta, a cause for Buddhahood. They say a Buddha has to have 3 qualities, or has to, like as if there's an option. A Buddha has 3 qualities. A Buddha has Kyen, Tse, and Nu. Den means possesses or has. Kyen, that refers to omniscience, knows everything. Nu, that means power or ability. Tse, that means love. Love. If the Buddha didn't have love, why would she care? Why would she care to teach? Why would she care to be of benefit? You could just be a person who's powerful and knows everything. I've known lots of people who are know-it-alls who are powerful, who didn't have love. They're kind of annoying to be around, you know? I joke. I'm being silly. Love is a very important quality of an enlightened being. So in course 1 of the foundation courses, we talked about the 7 steps for developing bodhicitta, right? And we're only going to pull out 2, but really 3, 2 of them. The first one is Ningje. Ningje. Ning, that means heart or essence. Like Sher Ningpo, that is the the Heart Sutra, Sharanimbo, or some people call it the essence of wisdom, Heart Sutra. J means Lord, right, King. Torche is a diamond, and it means Do means stone, and J means king. The king of stones. That's their word for diamond. Okay, so Ning J is the king of the harp. The Lord of the harp. It means it's referring to compassion. And then another cause, which comes right before Ningje, compassion, is Champa. Champa. That's my first name. I'm Champa Utpala. Champa. Champa means love. Love. So in this in the steps of developing bodhicitta, the wish to become fully enlightened in order to benefit all living beings, we go through these steps, and at one point we work on having love for every living being in an equal way. And then we work on having compassion for every living being. If we look at these two words, just generally speaking, like what does compassion mean and what does love mean? Compassion means that you don't want to see someone be in trouble. You want to you wish that they weren't in trouble. Like when you read the news and you read about some children starving in some other country or even in our own, you feel compassion. You wish those children weren't starving, and you wish they had food to eat. Champa, or love, is you want to see them have something good. Like you don't want to give a starving child like ice cream. That's not helpful. You want to give the starving child food that will nourish their bodies and will bring them to a state of health and happiness, right? It's not all, like we say in English, we have this phrase, it's not all puppy dogs and rainbows. It's not all cute puppies and beautiful rainbows. Like sometimes what we need on a conventional level, on an ordinary level, is we need, a good bowl of oatmeal. Something that will nourish our body. Although a puppy dog can be pretty nourishing too. Anyway, so those are in general what compassion and love mean. Colloquially in Tibetan, these words are used Like when you see somebody in trouble, you say, "Oh, Ninja, oh, Ninja, oh, what a pity, oh, how sad." And champa means to get along with somebody, to be, you're able to do things together. You don't get in arguments all the time. You get along very well. In Buddhist philosophy, we talk about Ningde Chempo, great compassion. And we talked about Ning being the heart and Jay being the Lord. It's the highest state of our heart, this great compassion, Ningje. But when we talk about the heart of an enlightened being, which in the Buddhist cosmology, in the Buddhist world, an enlightened being is the highest possible type of being. So we're talking about, we use different words. They call them honorifics. Honorific. We want to give them honor. We don't want to associate common words with a person who we revere and want to emulate. We want to become like them. We want to show them great respect and honor them. So we use different words. So, for example, I have a lock. I have a hand, and the word is lock in Tibetan. My teacher's hand. My teacher's hand is chak. Chak. Different word. I have a lu. I have a body. A lu. My teacher has a ku. Ku. So there are many different words in the Tibetan language that'll have a normal use and then words that are only used for in honor of somebody high. So tuk, tukje, tuk is the honorific for ning. Ning. So tuk is the mind or the heart of an enlightened being. And ning is like my heart. So both of these words, Ningje Chempo and Tukje Chempo, are both words for great compassion, right? They both have the same English equivalent, great compassion. What makes them different from each other? What is the difference between my compassion as an ordinary being and the compassion of an enlightened being? The Abhidharma loves to give lists, and it lists 8 different differences, but we're not going to talk about that. But you just know that in the Abhidharma, even in the what we call the lower vehicle, they talk about the distinction of compassion between ordinary beings and great beings. So they talk about a distinction, but we're going to talk about the distinction from higher schools. The distinction is, we have a couple more words. Drel means to be, it means to separate. And de means to wish or to want. So drel de means the wish to see others separated from suffering. That's compassion. You want to see them get out of suffering. And then there's kyopde. And this is kyop, remember? We use kyop as protector. The protector. Kyopdu is the wish to be the one who helps them. The wish to be the one who protects them. The first one wants to see someone get out of suffering, to stop suffering. The second one, Tukje Temple, the great compassion of a Buddha, says, I will be the one who protects them. I'll be the one to get them out of suffering. So that sounds a lot for those of you who took the first course. It sounds a lot like Laksam, which is in the steps of generating bodhicitta. It's the step right before you generate bodhicitta. And it's called personal responsibility. You not only wish that someone be free of suffering, you take responsibility. I will do it. Doesn't matter if anyone helps me. I will do it. It doesn't matter if the person is angry at me. I will do it. No matter what, I will do it. I don't care if no one helps me. I don't care if no one thinks that what I'm doing is of benefit to the world. I don't care. I don't care if someone starts to help me and then gets tired and gives up and leaves me alone. That's fine. I'll do it myself. I don't care if they throw me in jail. I will do it. Laksam. That's personal responsibility. So why were we talking about great compassion? It's the fourth reason. It's the reason in the fourth of the four forward reasonings. And we said it's the original cause, that everything starts from there. You get great compassion, which turns you into a teacher of emptiness. Because you're a teacher of emptiness, You get rid of your bad qualities. You've gotten rid of all the stinkiness and all the obstacles. Because you've done that, you're a protector. You protect others. And because you protect others, you are totally correct. So that's how we got here. Now, all of that is to say, ask the question, how long does it take to get great compassion? You know, can I do a month-long retreat and get great compassion? Or is it going to take longer than that? They say it takes 30 to the 60th power eons, trillions and trillions of years. And we know our lifespan is only, you know, what is the average lifespan these days? I guess it depends on where you live. But I'm bumping up on that higher level. But we only have so many years in this life, so how can it possibly take us trillions and trillions of years? I mean, wouldn't that suggest that there are future lives that we have to go through in order to develop great compassion? Now, someone comes along, one of these charvakas, which in Tibetan they're called Kyang Penpa, charvaka. They say, oh, there's no such thing as past lives, and there's no such thing as future lives. You can't develop compassion over many lives. You know, that's insane. Therefore, the omniscience of this Buddha that you talk about doesn't even exist. So Dharmakirti gets interested to respond to them. And what does he have to show them? What does he have to prove to them? That there are past and future lives. And now we finally talked about the idea. Oh, past and future lives. So in our future classes, we are going to discuss different proofs for past and future life. Very quickly before we go, Alexi, I found out once you have, we talked about if any of the lives of the 7 lives after you see emptiness directly is going to be in like the hell realms, for example. No, it's not. Once you reach a certain stage in the second path, Chorlam Supa, it's called, which means you have a really good, correct understanding of emptiness. You will no longer take birth in lower realms, only in higher. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to do very quickly, I have 1 minute, is to show you something that if it takes me too long, oh, it took me too long. I'll show you next time. So please remember to dedicate. Thank you for your patience with me. Thank you for your interest in this course. Thank you the translators. Thank you, tech team. Thank you, ACI. Thank you, Geshe Michael. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much, teacher.